Before we start our lesson for today, let's go for a short video on the coronavirus.
Here are some important tips to fight COVID-19, the pandemic. Wash the hands frequently with soap or sanitizer. Soap is an effective weapon to wash away the viruses and bacteria. Avoid unnecessary touching of eyes, nose, and mouth. Use your elbow to cover while sneezing or coughing. Wear a mask if you need to go out for any urgent work to protect yourself, and avoid close contact with people who are unwell. The minimum safe distance is 1 meter or 3 feet. Stay at home if you begin to feel unwell. Most importantly, don't self-medicate. Call your doctor and seek early medical help if you have persistent fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing. Don't worry, not all fever and cough are related to coronavirus. Let the healthcare provider diagnose it and follow the advice given by the doctor. Avoid handshake. Instead, greet people by folded hands and say namaste. Lastly, do not panic. Stay at home and keep social distance. Avoid going out in public. Let's fight this pandemic together. Stay safe.
Welcome back. Before we start today's lessons, let's look at our previous lesson. What we learned in our previous lesson. In our previous lesson, we learned about carbon cycle. And we said carbon cycle refers to how carbon circulates between living and dead organisms and the atmosphere. We also learned that the carbon cycle has two main parts. That is the first pathway and then the second pathway. Good. I hope you have understood me. Let's quickly go to today's lesson. Alright. Today we're going to learn about ways by which the carbon cycle is disrupted or disturbed. That is the continuation of what we learned in our previous lessons. Disruption of the carbon cycle. What causes or what disturbs the carbon cycle? 1. Deforestation or depletion of vegetation. When we talk about deforestation, this is the act of cutting down trees without replanting them. So when such act is being done, it produces a lot of carbon dioxide, which prevents the carbon cycle to move on. Let's move on to the second point. I hope you are with me. The second point, we are talking about excessive release of carbon dioxide from industries and exhaust fumes of cars into the atmosphere. Whenever this happens, that is when the industries or the factories during their production or manufacturing, they always use fire in their industry. So whenever the factory or the industry are operating, they normally will give away carbon dioxide, and too much of it also disturbs the carbon cycle. I hope you are with me. Good. Let us see some effects. That is the negative effect of disruption of the carbon cycle. Disturbing the carbon cycle results in the following. 1. Greenhouse effect or global warming. This term will be treated in our subsequent lesson, or there will be a follow-up of this. That is the greenhouse effect or global warming. The second point is the high concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases the level of greenhouse effect, as we have already learned. That too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere or in the sky or air increases the level of the greenhouse effect. The third point, which is point 3, that is depletion of the ozone layer. And it has been proven that, according to science, that there is a layer which surrounds the atmosphere. So whenever there is excessive of carbon dioxide, it destroys the ozone layer, thereby causing a heat in the atmosphere. Good. I hope you are with me. You have also understood the concept. Good. Let's move on to the ways of maintaining the carbon cycle. Ways by which we can maintain the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle can be maintained by 1. Afforestation or tree planting. So if we can regain the carbon cycle into its original state, we have to plant more trees. The second point, avoiding deforestation or burning. We have to avoid too much of burning or too much of cutting down trees, but rather encourage planting of more trees. Our third point is the use of renewable sources of energy instead of fossil fuel. When we put to practice the use of renewable sources like the solar panel and the likes, it helps us to maintain the carbon cycle. Good. Now let us define the meaning of the greenhouse effect. What is it about? It is the process that protects the earth from losing all the heat absorbed from the sun to the space. It is the process that protects the earth from losing all the heat absorbed from the sun to the space. So this greenhouse effect serves as a medium through which the heat that the earth has been absorbed, it will not lose it to the sun or to the space. Good. So that is the meaning of the greenhouse effect. That is the work it does. It protects the earth from losing all the heat absorbed from the sun to the space. Good. I hope you have understood. Let's move on to the next term. That is the global warming. And what is it about? The global warming is the increase in the temperature of the atmosphere surrounding the Earth's surface caused by increase in greenhouse effect. I'm taking it again. It is the increase in the temperature of the atmosphere surrounding the Earth's surface caused by increase in greenhouse effect. Good. Let us see some causes of global warming. 1. Tree cutting. So whenever we cut down trees, it results in global warming. Point 2. Burning wood for the purpose of fuel, like the charcoal burners, those who will cut down trees and then burn it for charcoal or use it as charcoal, also what causes the global warming. The third point is the use of fluorocarbons in refrigeration and air conditioning systems destroys the ozone layer. So whenever they use chlorofluorocarbons in a fridge, they produce a lot of carbon dioxide which destroys the ozone layer. Good. Let us also see some damaging effects of global warming. 1. Increase in atmospheric temperature. So whenever the ozone layer is being destroyed, the atmosphere or the air get heated. There are a lot of heat in the atmosphere which promotes global warming. The second point is changes in the natural pattern of drought, rainfall and flooding. Since there are a lot of heat in the atmosphere, it changes the natural way of when rain is to fall, when flood is to happen, and also when we have to experience drought. God. The third point is reduction in water levels of inland water bodies. When there are too much heat, the water levels or the water bodies, the levels of the water decreases or reduce to a very small amount. This is caused by global warming. And the fourth point is there is increase in the incidence of bushfire because there are a lot of heat circulating, heat around, and there is too much air or wind blowing. A little fire will cause a lot of harm. So this is caused by global warming. And lastly, that is the fifth point. A lot of animals and plants are at risk of getting wiped away from the Earth's surface. That is true. Or when there are a lot of heat, plants and animals as well as human beings cannot survive at this. Good, I hope you are with me. Let us see some ways we can reduce global warming. That is reduction of global warming. 1. We can reduce global warming by planting more trees, which would absorb excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Our second point is encouraging the use of the natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas, such as methane. So when we encourage ourselves by the use of our natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas, such as methane, it helps reduce global warming. Point 3. The use of substitute coolants for chlorofluorocarbons, such as hydrofluorocarbons, should be encouraged. Instead of using chlorofluorocarbons, which has high level of carbon dioxide in them, we should rather practice the use of hydrochloroform, which has less carbon, so that the global warming can be reduced. Good. I hope you are with me and you have understood the concept. Okay, before that, let's summarize what we have been able to learn today. Today we learned about disruption of carbon cycle, and we have said disruption of carbon cycle occurs through deforestation and excessive release of carbon. We also said that the disruption of carbon cycle results in global warming, depletion of ozone layer, and seasonal changes. And we also note or learned about the meaning of greenhouse effect, and we said that it is the process that protects the earth from losing all the heat absorbed from the sun to space. And we also define the meaning of global warming, which is the increase in the temperature of the atmosphere surrounding the earth's surface. Good. So this is where time will permit us for today. But before we go, let's take these assignments. So that is your assignment on the screen. 1. Mention 3 ways of maintaining the carbon cycle. 2. State 3 effects of the disruption of the carbon cycle. 3. State 2 causes of global warming and 4 effects of global warming. 4. Highlight 2 ways of reducing global warming. And 5. Define the following terms. A. Greenhouse effects. And then B. Global warming. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. Goodbye and stay safe. God bless you all.